Hey everyone, Austin here with eStarland. We received 3 boxes from Travis in Texas with broken game consoles. We at eStarland, we do take broken game consoles, not just functioning ones. So if you have any busted systems, feel free to send them our way. We're going to open these boxes and show you what's inside. Always open from the sides, then lift, because you don't want to cut anything that's on right below the flap. I learned that from the owner of eStarland about 25 years ago. All right, looks like we've got some Xboxes in here, original Xbox. Let's go ahead and take this one out. And yeah, good old Microsoft Xbox. This one looks pretty caked up with dirt. Xboxes oftentimes have disk drive issues. Also, there are capacitors on the inside that are notorious for going bad. And so it'll be interesting to see what is wrong with this one. And it looks like this feels like a PlayStation 2. Yep, PS2 Fat as they call them nowadays. They are the original PlayStation 2 models. And these ones were oftentimes not taken care of back in the day. You can see the vents here are caked up with dirt, very common. And PlayStation 2s are usually fairly robust systems except for the disk drive.
Yeah,
and,
disk drive, laser, that's the big one.
The big one is the laser. All right, we have an original Sony PlayStation. Ooh, and it's actually got a parallel port on it. Still not the original with the composite inputs or outputs, I should say. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up the disk drive here. Original PlayStations oftentimes have issues with the disk drive. And spindle's not cracked. It'll be interesting to see what's wrong with this one. Looks like it's a little gunked up on the parallel port. Oh, that's just some dirt. No back cover. The vents on the side are fairly caked up as well. And yeah.
Did you ever have to do the upside down trick with the PlayStation?
No, but I knew friends that did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the disc, if anything with moving parts, that's probably the first thing that's going to break.
Yeah.
And that's usually a disk drive on these consoles.
And we have another Sony PlayStation. And ooh, you can see the old spindle there has been cracked. You can see the red underneath. That's usually a sign that the thing hasn't been treated the best and might need a laser replacement or spindle replacement. All right, so the next thing in the box was the Sega Genesis. This is the Model 2. And usually these things are pretty robust. However, a lot of times the power port will come loose and you won't get power to the system. Also, the cartridge port can be dirty. The cartridges can be dirty. So it'll be interesting to see what is actually wrong with this thing. Other components inside can go bad, but it is fairly rare, such as ICs, and there are a few capacitors, but usually these things, again, are fairly robust, and it's physical ports that usually end up going bad on these. You can also see that this is really scuffed up, so it actually got a lot of use back in the day. It's pretty often to find Genesis Model 2s in particular that are scuffed up on the top. So this is a PlayStation 1001, and I've been talking about the RCA jacks on the back, and look at this. We have a much older model of PlayStation 1 with the RCA jacks. No parallel port cover, but oh man, look at that damage over there. Looks like this thing's been dropped probably a couple times. And it's also quite yellowed. There are ways to fix yellowing, but that'll be a pretty big job on this one. Spindle actually looks pretty good, and the looks like this the latch isn't working. That can be fixed. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
And it says it works, so we'll have to test this out. We have a couple more items in this first box, and it looks like we have a Genesis Model 1. 16-bit. Ooh, this one looks all scuffed up on the top. We have our volume control here, which feels gunky. That can be cleaned. We have our on and off switch. Yeah, it looks like this one has seen better days. This doesn't have the high definition graphics on top, so there are multiple different Genesis Model 1 and 2 revisions with different hardware quirks, which is quite interesting. Some of these will have better sound quality than others. And yeah, it looks like everything's intact here. Yeah, it's just quite dirty, so we won't actually know what's wrong with it until we go and test it out. But yeah, that is the Genesis Model 1. And it looks like we have a smaller console. This feels like a Sega Dreamcast to me, and it is. Ooh, this one looks about as bad as that PlayStation 2 we just had in our hands, except the Dreamcast is a white console, and so dirt and grime really sticks out like a sore thumb on this console. And Sega Dreamcast, you had a 56K modem here, which is having a really hard time to pop out right now. Came bundled with the console, and yeah, it looks like we have some discoloration. Dreamcasts oftentimes would have issues with the disk drive. The disk mechanism on the Dreamcast can be really fickle. Yeah. And power supply issues are probably a common issue as well. Controller ports, you have experience with that, don't you?
The controller ports tend to go out very often. They might be fully shorted out, or they may be just very finicky to get working. Sometimes you can fix it when it's like that, and you can always replace it with the ports from another Dreamcast, but for some reason it's very common on the Dreamcast for those ports to go out.
Looks like we have a PlayStation 3, the Super Slim. It says it won't power on. This was the last model of the PlayStation 3. What are common issues with the PlayStation 3 Super Slims?
Super Slim is just like anything else. Power, HDMI port don't work, disk drive doesn't work, but with consoles like this, sometimes the hard drive fails too, because we're getting to that point.
Ooh, I sense a Super Nintendo, a very, very dirtied Super Nintendo, but surprisingly not all that yellowed. We have some controller port yellowing, I believe, and that's fairly common. Super Nintendos in general are generally pretty reliable, just like a Sega Genesis. Not a lot of moving components. This feels like a Nintendo 64, and it is. Ooh, looks like it's missing the top cover, and it's also missing the memory pack, which is necessary for the console to even function. We do sell jumper packs here that will work if you have a console like this. And that expansion port, ooh, very rusted. And you can tell the metal shield underneath is rusted as well. This N64 has definitely seen better days. And multiple PlayStation 2 Slims. This is with the second model of the PlayStation 2. Both of these look quite scuffed up. What is a common issue with the Slims?
It's mostly the disk drive. They're not as resilient as the PlayStation, as the Fat PS2. So you end up just with a disk drive that doesn't work properly.
We have ourselves a Sega Saturn, amazing console. And it looks like immediately we've got a missing power button. This is actually an actuator that goes a little bit farther into the console. And I wonder if it's actually inside the console. I can hear something rattling around. Looks like we have a missing expansion port cover. So there is a battery in there, those can go bad. And Saturns can be prone to disk drive issues. Power supply board issues as well, which is serviceable. Oh, this is something I was not expecting to see. We have the old Atari 2600. This is a 4-switch Vader model, as they call it. It's the one that's all black. And whew, what a classic console. This one might actually end up working perfectly fine. It's not very complicated underneath the hood, but we'll have to test it and then open it up if it doesn't work and see what's going on with it. But it looks like it's just really, really dirty. We have two consoles here. We have a Sony PS1, the actual PS1. A lot of people would refer to the original PlayStation as the PSX, but this is also the Atari 2600 Junior. One of the last versions of the Atari 2600, and this one looks like it has seen better days too. I don't even want to touch that. But yeah, plays 2600 cartridges, just like the other one we looked at earlier. And all the ports look like they're intact. You don't usually hear of those failing too often, so maybe they just didn't have the hookups for that one. And this original PS1, this is the final version of the original PlayStation. Little mini, also came with the separate screen attachment you can buy separately. And this one looks fairly clean. Spindle looks good too. And so, interesting. This is the DS Lite. This was the second Nintendo DS model. And Yeah, it looks like it's working. So this is something that'll have to be tested hardware-wise. Maybe it's just got a battery that needs to be replaced, or all the face buttons seem fine so far. So screen actually looks like it would be cleaned up quite well as well. Screens on these handheld units oftentimes scuffed up